Nigeria's COVID-19 death toll crosses 1,000 mark as NCDC confirms 322 new cases.
Chief of Army Staff challenges troops to sniff out remnants of Boko Haram insurgents.
We are going to do more this time around. We should brace up for the final phase, and I expect you to get going. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
DSS loses 2 operatives to IPOB attack in Enugu.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss the Nigeria-Ghana traders altercation.
Now, a video went viral last week of a Nigerian trader in Tiptoe business area in Accra, Ghana, lamenting the forceful closure of his shop despite possessing basic requirements such as resident permit and other business permits duly registered with the Ghanaian authorities.
Now, the only requirement the Nigerian trader in that video said he could not meet is the $1 million minimum capital stipulation or business registration fee imposed on foreigners seeking to do business in Ghana under the category of trading enterprises by the Ghana Investment Promotion Council, established in 2013 to coordinate investment in all sectors of Ghana's economy.
And the $1 million question is a $1 million question actually, because where do you expect micro, small and medium enterprise owners to get $1 million US as equity for business registration?
Well, in the meantime, Korean business enterprises with 100% ownership by Ghanaians are exempted from the $1 million minimum capital requirement for foreigners seeking to have trading enterprises in Ghana.
And in a bid to enforce the rather obnoxious trade policy, the Ghanaian authorities recently embarked on forceful closure of hundreds of shops and businesses belonging to foreigners, mostly Nigerians, who obviously cannot meet the $1 million threshold for business registration.
Well, Nigeria's Foreign Affairs Minister, Geoffrey Oyama, in a reaction, summoned the Chargé d'Affaires of Ghana to Nigeria to protest the forceful closure of shops of Nigerian traders in Ghana and demand an urgent resolution.
And the Ghanaian Ministry of Trade, in its own reaction, rejected claims of unfair treatment by Nigerian traders in that country, insisting that the traders must pay the required taxes and other fees imposed on them by the authorities. In all of this, one wonders if the principles of Pan-Africanism projected by the likes of Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, Leopold Senghor of Senegal, Jomo Kenyatta of Kenya, and even our own Nnamdi Azikiwe of Nigeria have been thrown to the winds. Kingsley.
Nigeria has already threatened to approach the ECOWAS court for intervention, but without profile the requisite solution, Kieran, and is Ghana's approach now justified? The altercation, of course, between Nigerian traders and the Ghanaian authorities is indeed our focus on Good Morning Nigeria today. My name is Kingsley Osadolo, and I welcome you to the program, reaching you as always live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We're broadcasting from the nation's capital, Abuja. This morning is fairly wet. The skies are gray.
And I'm Kieran Umai, also welcoming to the program. In a moment, we'll be bringing you morning news and also savvy other complementary segments in the course of the program. Ifeoma Ojinta is here for the morning news. Good morning, Ifeoma.
Good morning, Kieran. Good morning, Kingsley. And here is the morning news. A patrol team of the Department of State Services was attacked in Emene, Enugu State by members of the outlawed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. A statement by the Public Relations Officer of the service, Dr. Peter Afunanya, indicates that the service lost 2 of its personnel in what was clearly an unprovoked violent attack launched by IPOB on the team. The service condoles with families of the departed officers and also prays for the repose of their souls. However, all measures have been put in place to ensure that their killers are promptly apprehended and brought to justice. Consequently, a full-scale investigation will be carried out with regard to the incident. The service further reaffirms its commitment to working assiduously with other security agencies to maintain public safety and order. It therefore urges law-abiding citizens and residents to go about their normal businesses without fear. The Chief of the Army Staff, Lieutenant General Yakubu, directs troops to be dynamic in their strategies as the hunt for the remnants of the Boko Haram terrorists reaches final stage. Lieutenant General Yakubu gave the directives while addressing troops at the Nigerian Army Super Camp 3 in Buratai, Borno State.
Operation of this nature must continuously be evolved, and henceforth all our operations will be driven from what we have gotten from the intelligence corps. Our operations have been decided or guided by the same intelligence corps, but we are going to do more this time around. We should brace up for the final phase, and I expect you to get going. Is that clear? Yes, sir.
Meanwhile, in addition to the deployment of special troops to restore normalcy in southern Kaduna, the Nigerian Air Force has begun a 6-day medical outreach in the area declared open by the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar.
The Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar, distinguished flying star, felt that in his usual nature of being somebody who is very concerned about the plight of people, sent us here to bring out this medical outreach.
And we are also using this opportunity to call on all people of Zangon Katef local government to ensure that they live in peace with each other and with their neighbors.
Still in Kaduna, former Emir of Kano, Muhammad Sanusi II, has called for stronger collaboration between governments and the people towards lasting peace among the diverse social, cultural and religious groups in Nigeria. The former Emir said this during an interaction with Kaduna State Governor Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai at the Government House, Kaduna.
In the case of the crisis in Kaduna, first of all, is something that predates this government. It's been on for a long time. And the governor is doing something about it for the first time in a long time. And the North as a whole suffers.
The United States is very lucky to have His Royal Highness as the Vice Chairman of its Investment Promotion Agency because of his wide global network, his integrity and reputation, which has been recognized both within Nigeria and abroad.
In the meantime, operatives of the Nigeria Police Force Oyo State Command have rearrested the notorious murder suspect Sunday Shodipe, who escaped from lawful custody on August 11, 2020. He was rearrested Sunday by police operatives at the Bodija area of Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. A statement by Force Public Relations Officer Frank Mba notes that the Inspector General of Police commended the team for a job well done. The IGP equally extends his appreciation to citizens for their support and understanding during the manhunt for Shodipe. And now COVID-19 update. Nigeria COVID-19 death toll has crossed the 1,000 mark about 6 months after the first case was reported in the country in February this year. Latest statistics from the Nigeria Center for Disease Control show that 1,002 lives have sadly been lost to the pandemic in the country. Nigeria's COVID-19 caseload is now 52,227, out of which 38,945 recovered cases have been discharged, leaving 12,280 active cases. A breakdown of 322 new confirmed cases across 18 states show that Lagos has the daily highest of 130 cases, followed by Bauchi with 36 and FCT with 25 cases. Edo recorded 17 new cases. Bayelsa, Ogun, and Oyo have 14 cases each. Anambra 13, Kaduna 12, Ondo 11, Abia 10, and Osun 6. Plateau and Kwara states have 5 cases each. Kano 4, Ebonyi 3, Sokoto 2, while Borno recorded just a case this time around. On the state's case chart, Lagos still leads with 17,894 cases, followed by FCT with 4,994 cases, while Oyo is third with 3,050 cases. Now, delegates from the West African grouping ECOWAS have met with Mali's ousted president, Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta, and members of the military junta in a bid to push for a speedy return to civilian rule following a coup in the troubled nation. 3 members of the group delegation, headed by former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan, were granted access to Keïta. Former President Jonathan told newsmen after seeing ousted President Keïta late Saturday that the negotiations are going well. The meeting between the ousted Malian leader and the 3 ECOWAS delegation members held at an undisclosed location with no details released. ECOWAS envoys also met with Mali's military junta, including new strongman Colonel Assimi Goïta, for half an hour. And that's the morning news. The program continues with Kingsley and Kieran after this break.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Coming up next is business news.
The need to ensure a peaceful and secure region under the ECOWAS sub-region is still a source of worry for key players who believe the economic bloc can only survive under a peaceful atmosphere. They believe to increase regional integration, build a formidable economic force, the regional government must work together to ensure treaties are respected and non-trade barriers lifted.
We shouldn't give room for member states to see themselves as a rivalry. Rather, we should work together and complement each other's effort. We'll be able to move the sub-region forward. That's the way I want to see ECOWAS region that can even surpass European Union.
But as you know, one of the key agenda of ECOWAS is economic integration, and the most important aspect of this is interregional trade, and that is what ECOWAS is working on. The Vision 2050 is meant to address that, so that we can increase the percentage of inter-community trade amongst us.
Meanwhile, the Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) says it would strictly enforce rules and guide the operations of the capital market to restore investors' confidence. The Director General SEC, Lamido Yuguda, said this at the first Capital Market Committee meeting, which was attended virtually by over 240 stakeholders in the capital market. The meeting marked the first interaction between the newly inaugurated executive management team of the Commission and the capital market community. With business news, I'm Chimubi Walter Naji.
Well, thank you indeed for that business package. And next on Good Morning Nigeria is a newspaper review.
Our regular newspaper reviewer, Baya Tebi, is unavailable this morning to join us for the review. So, Kira and I will take a look at the papers that we have.
Right. Let's begin with the Daily Trust newspaper. Daily Trust from top to bottom. Bandits killed 1,126 villagers in 6 months. That's according to Amnesty International. Thousands throng Kaduna streets as Sanusi visits El-Rufai. Of course, the first item I read is on page 6. Thousands throng Kaduna streets as Sanusi visits El-Rufai. That's on page 10. The lead story on Daily Trust this morning: tanker fire kills 207, injures 221 in 3 years. It has 2 riders. Fake spare parts, bad roads, recklessness trigger inferno. That's according to Nupeng. What we are doing to check accidents, as according to FRLC. All right. At the bottom of Daily Trust, we have police arrest suspected serial killer in Ibadan. It's on page 44. Now, many feared dead as security operatives, IPOP members clash in Enugu. It's on page 14. Classy Bayern Munich beat PSG 1-0 to win 6th Champions League. It's on page 55. That happened there. That's yesterday evening. That's a very classical, encounter, if you watch that match.
Oh, well, yes. I mean, it was a very interesting match. The only thing that was missing was the crowd on account of the public health protocols required with the prevailing COVID-19 situation around the world. So congratulations to Bayern Munich, but sadly, there was no Nigerian on the pitch for either team. I think that's a wake-up call for Nigerian footballers. Let them raise the standard of their game and then play at the summit of club football.
But some of them actually, played at the elimination series.
Absolutely,
before they got to the finals. It was the best 2 that appeared at the finals. So unfortunately, we don't have any Nigerian, in those 2 teams.
In those 2 teams, there was no upset whatsoever because Bayern Munich were clear favourites after the earlier humiliated. Barcelona.
But if you watch that match closely, PSG, missed their chances in the first half. Mbappe and 2 of that young men, Neymar missed their chances, glaring chances, beautiful chances. They would have buried that match in the first half of the match.
Well, yeah, Kieran, you're right, but it's also the case that if you don't take your chances in soccer, you rule. Yes. Let's take a look at the front page of the Daily Sun newspaper. There's an earpiece there. It says U.S. indicts Nigerian in $300 million sweepstakes fraud. Suspect risks 40 years jail term. That's page 5. On page 8, 14 million children out of school in Nigeria, says Obasanjo, that's former president. This story said, again, Nigeria descends on Nigerians, shuts businesses. With 2 riders, traders seek Buhari and ECOWAS intervention, and PDP senators kick. The second list story there below the photographs says, probe, Magu fights back, warns against indictment. That can be found on page 27. Police rearrest Oyo serial killer. Details of that you find on page 5. And 2 other headlines there, insecurity. We may lose all seats in 2023. APC stalwarts won. That's page 6. And bloody Sunday in Enugu as police IPOP clash. We lost 21 members, 47 arrested. That's according to the pro-Biafra group. Only 4 killed, 5 in our custody, say police. Details can be found on page 27. Well, Kieran, incidentally, the lead story of the Daily Sun newspaper is the topic for our conversation this morning, which has to do with the continuing troubles that Nigerian traders and businesses are facing in Ghana. So we might as well leave that aspect for a conversation when we do have our guests. Probe Magu fights back, says once against indictment. The probe is on. It's been indicated that no report has been submitted, but indeed once the outcome of the probe is known, then there will be issues to deal with.
Yes, I was also wondering why the warning, warning against indictment. So does it mean that he can be indicted or something? I didn't understand that.
Certainly not. I mean, I think that is his lawyer who is speaking, warning against indictment. Perhaps the use of the word warn there is inappropriate. If you are under investigation and the panel returns a verdict of indictment, that is it. I mean, you don't control the panel. It's the panel that weighs the facts and evidence before it and then reaches its own conclusion. But as we said, we won't get into details of all of that. We just want. But the lead story from the Daily Sun, Daily Trust newspaper, Kirian, which you have, again, it's a topic that we have discussed. On Good Morning Nigeria on a number of occasions, and why it persists is a major challenge. Now, are the stakeholders sufficiently engaged? Are the law enforcement agents also sufficiently engaged? Because one of the major challenges, apart from, say, infrastructure, bad roads, XYZ, the tankers themselves are overloaded. And then the tankers also are not roadworthy. In other words, a tanker that has a lower capacity is given a much heavier weight to freight. And plus the fact that some of the drivers are said to be so inexperienced that you find these frequent accidents. Apart from lives that are lost, you also have damage to the road itself.
Yes, honestly speaking, recklessness is also part of what has been causing various tanker fire or other tanker accidents in Nigeria. And you rightly pointed out the fact that some of them are overloaded. A tanker that has about that should be carrying 30,000, liters of fuel could, of course, be loaded up to 60,000, and that makes it very difficult for that tanker to move, on the kind of bad roads that we have in Nigeria. And any slightest mistake, it tumbles, right? And the next thing is to start spilling fuel, and of course, villagers, of course, in some places will have to come and there's a scoop fuel from it, and then there you have a tanker fire. And according to this paper, it has killed 207 persons in 3 years and injured 221 also in 3 years, meaning that over 500 persons were involved, in a tanker-related accident in 3 years in Nigeria.
Yeah, that's most unfortunate. It's most unfortunate. The question that also arises, Kirian, is now what happens at the loading bay? I think that's one of the points that the authorities also would need to address. When they get to the depot where the tanker is to be loaded. Now, if you have the law enforcement officers who are present on that occasion, DPR, road safety, VI,
to monitor the loading.
To monitor the loading so that the capacity, the required capacity is not exceeded. I think that's one point to take off, so that it is not when they are already on the highway that you now start arresting them.
But must still require such personnel to be at the loading bay? Is it necessary for you to have FRS, DPR, and what have you at that very point? Because simple regulation demands that, look, if you are part of the loading, you know exactly what you should do. You don't have to require anybody to come and force you to do what is right. But it just because in Nigeria here, in some cases we do things the way we like. That's when in most cases we say, look, this is a Nigerian style. It's a Nigerian style, which is bad, because of course it is negative, and of course it is also making us look as if we're not a part of the globe, right? So when you relate some issues to Nigerian peculiarities, these are necessary. It's very unnecessary, so that we can be more articulate and they get things done the right way.
That's right, Kirian. Now, let's take a look at the editorial this morning, and it's coming from the Punch newspaper. And it says, Federal government's gold rush, right step in mining resurgence. Federal government's gold rush, right step in mining resurgence. That's at page 20 of the Punch newspaper. It says an ambitious program by the federal government to make Nigeria a sub-regional hub for gold production is a right step that has been too long delayed. Now, it says that Nigeria should pursue wealth creation, diversify its economy, and create jobs by exploiting its natural and human resources. Now, the editorial also adds that success in transforming the solid mineral sector will depend on overcoming identified problems, chief of which are lack of infrastructure support, such as access roads, reliable electricity and rail services, policy uncertainty, poor legal framework, overlapping jurisdictions, taxation, and insecurity. So that's the editorial there. Federal and state authorities should have the political will to ensure the urgent reactivation the mining sector.
Recall that we had the Minister of Sulei Minerals sometime before you went on vacation, and we discussed the issue of access rules, policy, differences in policies of government from time to time that tends to overlap, and in most cases making it difficult for investors to actually key into whatever policy that the nation has put in place for them to be part of the mining industry in Nigeria. And I also pointed out on that day to him that we're always talking about the gestation period, which I started hearing from 1999. Right, as far as that sector is concerned. So when you hear gestation period, it does appear that it doesn't end. Right, and there are always policies by different administrations, even before the current administration. But he made it known to us that it was from 2015 that they came up with a strategic policy that seems to be working at the moment. But then we are yet to see, the impact of that policy. We are believing that, of course, it's going to work, because when you talk about mining, it takes time, really, to evolve, because it requires big machinery, it requires some policies, it requires even for you to, have some sort of agreements, not just with the government, but also with the communities that also where the mining will be located, and all of that. So it's cumbersome as a matter of fact. But then, if you have the right policies in place, these things can be handled. It can be taken care of.
Well, Kirian, you're right. You used the metaphor of gestation. Gestation is pregnancy. Yes. Pregnancy has a term. There's a definite term for pregnancies, and so we have to see the outcome of that particular pregnancy. Now, with regard to the point of your editorial, it's drawing attention again to the fact that, yes, the focus now really has to do with small-scale miners and then the artisanal miners, because the big-time mining companies are not rushing into our environment. And it says, look, there are a number of things that would need to be done, as the minister pointed out when we're having that conversation with him. But Zamfara, which of course is blessed with huge gold deposits, today is a high security risk zone. And if you recall, almost a couple of years ago, all mining activities were stopped in Zamfara. I wouldn't know whether mining activities have now resumed in Zamfara, but who are the big mining companies that will seek to go and play in Zamfara? So which again points to the fact that the issue of insecurity in that part of the country needs to be addressed. There's also the core issue of the conflict of jurisdictions. You have state governments and the federal government sometimes at loggerheads as to who has control over the activities of miners and the returns that the miners are also supposed to make. But overall, if it is got right, the beneficiation of raw gold will be a huge plus for the nation's economy.
And besides all of this, when these gold are mined, we don't even add value to them. That's another point.
Well, that's the beneficiation that they are working
exactly.
on. Yes.
We are still working on that. And Kingsley, what really bothers me and many Nigerians is the fact that when a policy is put in place, right, and the implementation becomes so difficult to get done rightly, and that makes it difficult for us to move a step further when we talk about diversification. And if you have to diversify, and of course allow mining sector, mining sector to key into the diversification policy of government, then some of the things you mentioned have to be taken care of. Otherwise, we'll just be rigmaroling, moving round and round and staying and applying some methodologies, and like you said, the conflict of jurisdictions. The state governments will come in, federal government will come in. But these are things that can be ironed out. These are things that can be specified, right? And look, this is right and this is wrong. There is no need for us to run into any conflict. This is one nation, right? So, and when such issues keep coming up on issues bordering on development, you discover that look, you don't move forward. We could see 8 years of still rolling around, policy making, some sort of people, some people call it gestation period, and what have you. And we have these solid minerals scattered all over Nigeria. There's no state in this country that does not have 1 or 2 minerals. Kogi and Nasarawa, they have up to 15 each, right? And none of these are being explored at the moment. So, it's unfortunate.
All right, Kirian, let's hope for the very best. And so that does it for our newspaper review this morning. Good morning, Nigeria. It's reaching you live for the network service of the NTA. We're taking a short break now. When we return, we'll be dealing with Nigeria traders in Ghana and the ordeal they're going through.
Well, it's nice to have you with us up to this moment on Good Morning Nigeria. And our conversation this morning is on the altercation between the Ghanaian authorities and Nigerian traders in that country. And before we begin, let's take this background report put together by Abdul Malik Adiu.
As you people can see at Accra Tiptoe Lane, we are here. This is my shop. So, and now they are still coming on to close the shop.
A viral video making the rounds on conventional and social media reveals some Ghanaian operatives allegedly harassing Nigerian traders and locking up their shops.
You can see my shop since 2007. 2007 is here. I registered the business, I pay my taxes, I have my resident permit. Everything is here.
The Ministry of Trade in Ghana accused the Nigerian traders of failing to submit documents for verification to the regulatory agencies in compliance with Section 27 of the Ghanaian Investment Promotion Center GIPC Act 865, which stipulates that foreigners cannot engage in certain kind of business. These are MSMEs where Nigerian retailers have thrived and mostly engaged in Ghana, causing resentment and anger from Ghanaian nationals. The GIPC Act also stipulates further regulations as regards levy to be paid by foreigners. However, Nigerian traders describe the conditions for business registration as outrageous because they were only given 14-day ultimatum to submit the required document, which cost $1 million in cash or in equity.
You said I should provide $1 million. Did you have $1 million? I have been registered. I have paid since 2007. This is evil. It is evil. The whole world can see.
This has elicited mixed reactions on the issues, ranging from trade protectionism to xenophobia, which close watchers note is also being experienced by Nigerians in South Africa, Guinea, Zimbabwe, and Cameroon, despite the big brother role Nigeria played in the liberation struggle to the development of the sub-region and other countries in Africa.
African life matter. Nigeria life matters here. In Ghana, why are you people doing this?
Despite efforts by the Nigerian Foreign Affairs Ministry and the Diaspora Commission in ameliorating the suffering of Nigerian traders abroad, experts observe that more needs to be done in negotiations with the Ghanaian authorities as regard trade protection for Nigerian traders in Ghana. With Ghana as one of the founding members of Pan-Africanism, ascribed to the country's first president, Kwame Nkrumah, who stood for unity and regional integration of Africa. The question on everyone's lips is, has this vision been eroded decades after his demise? On Good Morning Nigeria, we shall probe further on what should be the response of Nigerians at this time and what other structural changes are being put in place by the Nigerian government on trade protection for Nigerian traders in Ghana, as we discuss the Ghana-Nigerian trade altercations.
Many thanks, Abdul Malik Adio, for that background. Joining us now in the studio to discuss this issue, let's welcome Dr. Sulei Yakubu Basi, his Secretary of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission.
Thank you.
Dr. Basi, pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
Also here with us in the Abuja studios, a familiar face on Good Morning Nigeria, Dr. Ken Ukoha, who is President, National Association of Nigerian Traders. Dr. Ukoha, delighted to have you with us.
Thank you very much, Kinsley.
Okay. Kieran.
And joining us via Skype from Ghana is Chukwuemeka Nnaji. Chukwuemeka Nnaji is the President, Nigerian Traders in Ghana. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Thank you and good morning, Nigerians.
It's important we inform you that the Ghana High Commission and the ECOWAS Commission declined our invitation to appear on this program.
All right, Kieran, let's begin the conversation with Mr. Chukwuemeka Naji, who is with us via Skype from Ghana. Mr. Naji, what is the latest with regard to the ordeal of Nigerian traders in the hands of the Ghanaian authorities?
Thank you very much. Good morning, Mr. Kinsley. As we speak now, the authorities are still moving to other regions to assess our documents and give time for regularization, and hopefully maybe come back to close it, because as we have said, difficult to raise this $1 million, and we really don't have it actually. Though we have registered our businesses with Register General called CAC Nigeria, and we are paying all the taxes. This issue of $1 million has been there for a long time, and any time we raise objection, the Ghanaian government will say that West African nationals will not be affected with that. That is just for their foreign policy. It's this time alone that they will be able to stand on their feet and say, yes, even whether you come from our neighboring country, you will be subjected to comply. And we are waiting for more closure, because they continued until Friday, and they're now moving to another region.
Okay, still with you, Chukwuemeka. Are there some of your members who operate illegally in Ghana, or maybe some who have shortchanged the government by way of not paying taxes or other levies, as the case may be? I'm asking this question because one wonders what actually prompted the Ghanaian authorities to do what they're doing. This has lasted for years now.
For our union, the qualification is that you must have a business and you have been a trader. You have to register with Ghanaian authority. Most of people, because of migrations, have a lot of tactics. Many people may go there, they may not have enough, because registering of the business is not really cheap. You are registering with 0.5% of 1 million, which is $5,000, and this money goes straight to the pocket of the government, not as if it's going elsewhere. So many people may decide to marry Ghanaians and also register with their wife's name. All those things are there, but issue of if our members, no. Our members, it doesn't qualify if you don't have registration of business in Ghana, because we actually make sure that all our members registered. So anybody who did not register, we don't speak for such person.
All right, let us into exactly what the content of this regulation is. I mean, we keep hearing that foreign business owners are required to have a minimum either in cash or in equity of $1 million. And this is said to be coming from the Ghana Investment Promotion Council. Now, is this requirement for all kinds of investors or stipulated solely for traders? For instance, if you were going to set up a factory in Ghana, would you be required to have in equity $1 million? If you're going to be an MSME trader, just typical of what some of our people do, is that what you're asking you to also have $1 million? It's an omnibus requirement.
If you are setting up a factory, I think its own capital base is different. And other things, like we have foreign registration procedure. The trade will cost $1 million, that is 0.5%. But if you are registering for services, it's required $500,000. And if you in a service and you engage Ghanaian partner, it will come down to $200. But if you are doing solely business trading, or what they call retail trading, even if you engage 20 Ghanaians or you partner with 40 Ghanaians, you still have to provide the $1 million. That is how it goes.
Okay. What actually, in your opinion, is the grounds of Ghanaians against Nigerians and other foreign nationals? I ask this question because we have had a good relationship with Ghana over the years, and some of you have lived in Ghana for so many years, but all of a sudden we started hearing about all these regulations and what have you, and it does appear that it's only meted mostly on Nigerians. And again, what is the relationship between Nigerian traders and the so-called shop owners in Ghana?
We have a very cordial relationship. I think the problem we have is a few individuals who use that as a business. Because, of course, you should know that if we don't have good relationship with Ghanaian shop owners, how can we sell our things? Because most of the things that we bring in, mainly those Nigerian traders import goods and, of course, from Nigeria and China and every other places. So we depend on the locals actually to market it to the retailers, because you don't know who or how to do that. It may be because of language barrier or other things that may factor in it. However, these individuals that are agitating are just few of them that have the maybe power to connect with the government people. I call them their politicians or the traders. So even most of them are not even strong in trading activities, but they go around, agitating, this kind of thing. Everything is business in Africa. So that is how it is. They came up, not really much problem that I can say we have with any of them. But like joke, they wanted to try their law, and at the point the government will support us. This time is the only time that we see that the government is really not supporting us at this time. Most of the time is when they close it, because they use institutions that regularize us for some time, and you get to a point after 2018, the Goda itself now muster courage to go and buy keys and put on our shops. And anytime they put it, we will try to do anything. Sometimes the police will come and help us to open those shops. And sometimes it takes time, like the Kumasi then take 3 months. The one at the circle, it took about 8 good months. And it was good that bought the key and locked those shops. But when we went to the police, they could not help us immediately. And that is how it is until July when they open it. And for them to close it just last 2 weeks. So you cannot just point out anything apart from the politicians, the trade politicians, not really the real politicians, the trade politicians that are discussing this problem.
All right, Mr. Nigel, just pop this last question to you before we bring in our guests here with us in the Abuja studios. Are other nationals also affected by this policy? And if so, what has been their reaction?
Okay, other nationals issues very relative, because it's only Nigerians that you can identify in Ghana as a foreigner, even though there is all other foreign nationals, because it's very hard for you to see this as a Togolese or Ivorian or a Malian or Nigerian, which actually is everywhere. And that have to do with a lot of factors that with time will not permit us to go into. However, there is a few Chinese that were, attacked, but as they speak now, since they base it on 1 million JIPC equity-based capital, it's only Nigerians that is being affected. And then they went to Chinese shop, few of them they locked it, but just for public display, their target were Nigerians actually.
It's very apt, because it's not just Nigerians that are living in Ghana. There are other African nationals who are resident in Ghana who have also resided in Ghana for several decades. Yet, when this issue of regulation comes on, Nigeria has always been the target. And that brings us to the next question, which, of course, I'll put to Dr. Ukoha here. You have listened to Chukwuemeka Nnaji. Has Ghana violated ECOWAS trade treaty or policy because of this, the current situation the Nigerians are facing in that country?
Okay, thank you very much. First, let me thank NTA again for bringing this on the table. I think this is the 4th time I've been on this platform over the same subject matter. And it goes to show how, I would say, patriotic NTA is. And I think our members in Ghana keep saying it, that the media led by NTA in Nigeria has really, really been carrying us at the back, backing us and helping us in standing. But again, it's I'm not very comfortable, and I must display this, that Minister of Foreign Affairs, which is the face of Nigeria, that even ought to have answered this question now, is not at this table. Again, noting, and I want to put this very clear to the world, the footnote that both the Ghanaian High Commission in Nigeria and the absence of ECOWAS here, even when they were informed, speaks volume. Their absence at this point and this particular program speak a lot. But let me go straight to your question. Relating to legality or otherwise of the actions of Ghana, I will speak just as a lawyer, but I'm not a court. I think we need to understand what the treaty is. The treaty that binds all of us, the entire 15 member countries of ECOWAS, together. And that treaty essentially recognizes every citizen. ECOWAS has about 450 million population. And therefore, every citizen is recognized as a community citizen. Not a Nigerian, not a Ghanaian, not a Senegalese, not a Malian, not an Ivorian, but a community citizen. And that's why if you have your international passport, when you take your international passport, the first cover there shows you what? ECOWAS emblem. That means that you are an ECOWAS citizen. It's only when you open the first page that you will now see the particular country in ECOWAS that you come from. That legally shows where you belong. And the treaty categorically spells it out, says that you are a community citizen. Now, being a community citizen, the treaty goes ahead also to espouse some rights and privileges of that citizenship. Namely, one, it gives you the right to move. It says there is a free movement. That's why you have the free movement protocol. Number two is the right to reside, the right of residence. That means you can reside in anywhere in all the 15 member countries. Number three is that the right of establishment. That means you can establish your business or anything in any of the 15 member countries. Look at these three rights. What we are seeing today is a tactical, subtle way of removing that right from the community citizen, essentially targeted at Nigerians. And I think that ECOWAS would need to tell us whether we are bastards or we are truly citizens of ECOWAS. I think that Nigeria would also need to come out and say, no, we are not bastards, we are community citizens. If you don't recognize us, we pull out. We have done this big brother, politics and diplomacy for a long time that, honestly, I see this as cold room diplomacy. And each time that Ghana attacks us, hey, they bite you and then you want to complain, they blow some breeze on it. And that's exactly what has been happening. Just a few weeks back, you recall that in Ghana, Nigeria's house was pulled down against all international laws, including the Vienna Convention. That house was pulled down. What happened? Nigeria summoned the Ghanaian High Commissioner. He came, spoke, and eventually we thought we were going to see some action. Nothing happened. And here we are. And that gives them that privilege. Look, this matter we are speaking about here now has been on since 2007. And I want to give you some background. This is an issue that stemmed up from the 1994 Ghanaian Investment Promotion Council Act. Not the 2013. The Ghanaian Investment Promotion Act 478 resonated from 1994. And it says that if you are going to do a business as a foreigner, in quote, as a foreigner, you would have to deposit $300,000. I'm coming. We kicked against that. And we said, no. This is absolutely contradictory to the entire shades of ECOWAS laws. I am recognized as a citizen, as a community citizen. Therefore, I cannot be assumed as a foreigner in Ghana. That's what the law says. And it was then that we wrote. We wrote to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the President then. We wrote to the ECOWAS Commission. We wrote to the ECOWAS Parliament. We wrote to the Nigerian Parliament. In fact, thank God, ECOWAS Parliament went to Ghana and went to the Ghanaian Parliament and spoke with them. And they understood. In fact, there was a division. Eventually, they understood that, look, this law contradicts that of ECOWAS. Because a domestic law cannot superintend over a supranational law. It is impossible. And so, they said they were going to amend that. Unfortunately, in 2012, they came up with an amendment to the law. We were thinking that the amendment will pull out that foreigner from ECOWAS citizens. Unfortunately, and so sadly, some politicians who were targeting Nigeria rather increased the amount from 300,000 to 1 million. Hey, gentlemen, $1 million is 480 million naira. What am I doing in Ghana? That I've been requested to? Am I selling human beings? I mean, that I'll be, asked to bring 480 million? What are you selling? Are you selling aircrafts? I think we need to be a bit more reasonable.
All right. Dr. Ken Okoha, well, of course, thanks a lot for the background that you have provided. We'll return to you. But just to add that after part of Nigeria's diplomatic premises was pulled down by some individual who alleged that there was trespass on that land, the Ghanaian authorities, on the prompting of the Nigerian government, said they were going to get in and then get the individual, of course, to get off the land in the first instance and then restore whatever damage was done to that building. Whether that has been complied with, I have no indication. But the Ghanaian authorities did say they were going to take steps following Nigerian government protest against what transpired, even though, of course, we all felt hurt as citizens that such an action in the first instance took place against us. Dr. Ken Okoha, thanks a lot for the other background that you provided. Let's bring in Dr. Sulei Yakubu, Secretary of Nigerians in Diaspora Commission. What is it that we are dealing with in this particular instance of the frequent harassment of Nigerian traders by the Ghanaian authorities on the basis that they are required to satisfy the stipulation of having $1 million as equity in their trading investment? Is this another xenophobia in disguise?
Thank you, Kinsley. I think I thank my brother for the background information he brought. You will recall that the ECOWAS Treaty was signed and took off in 1975, and it is a treaty for cooperation and integration of the West African sub-region. And since then, the journey has gone up to this particular stage. It started as a treaty for ECOWAS of nations. And hopefully, as the journey progresses, it is supposed to dovetail into an ECOWAS of peoples. Unfortunately, there are hiccups as you go in the development of cooperation and integration, especially the sovereignty issues. And we see this particular happening within that particular context. Like Dr. clearly said here, you know, the definition of who a foreigner is. That's one of the issues that has thrown up this challenge. There is also people who are not Pan-Africanists, who are slow to come on board on the integration process. Of course, there could be politicians, there could be businessmen, there could be all kinds of segments of the society. Some are opposed eternally to the concept of cooperation and integration, and that is exactly what we are seeing here playing out in targeting certain sectors and certain people and certain national. But that notwithstanding, like we've also discussed here, ECOWAS has institutions to deal with this kind of matters. There is the ECOWAS Commission, there is the ECOWAS Parliament, there is also the ECOWAS Court of Justice, which incidentally all of them are domiciled here in Abuja and within our own reach. Let me also bring the diplomatic perspective to this, especially when issues between nations come. You have to handle it diplomatically. And sometimes the problem with diplomacy is that diplomacy is not discussed on newspaper pages or on television networks like we are discussing here. It is a quiet thing that is done quietly, sometimes off the scene. You only see the outcome. So I can understand the frustration of my brother. But that notwithstanding, in this particular matter, it has come up 3 times over the past 1 year. At one point, it took the intervention of our president, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, with the president of Ghana to address this particular issue, and the shops were open. At some point, I know His Excellency Mr. Geoffrey Onyema also has been on this particular issue severally. And just last week, Monday, when this latest event happened, he summoned the Charge d'Affaires of Ghana to his office, and one clearly made it very clearly the unacceptability of this particular action, not only of the Ghanaian state, but also of the non-state actor, the Ghana Union of Traders, that seem to be taking laws into their hands and attacking our people, and also saying we need to know exactly what is being done to mitigate this. He has also gone ahead to request our Charge d'Affaires, the Nigerian Charge d'Affaires in Ghana, to make a report on this particular issue. And I'm sure very soon His Excellency, the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, will make a policy pronouncement on this. I will not want to speculate the outcome. But I believe ECOWAS has enough safeguards to checkmate this kind of happening. This is also a situation that is not peculiar just to the ECOWAS region. Even in other integration regions like the NAFTA, of the world being proposed. You also saw what happened in Europe, where, like joke, the United Kingdom voted itself out of the EU after over 40 years of being in there, and the consequences and repercussions. Definitely, if we are going to have integration of our economies, if we are going to have the Africa Free Trade Area, which is soon to take off, and incidentally, with headquarters in Accra, Ghana, this kind of thing, cannot coexist with the kind of cooperation and integration we are talking about. Thank you very much.
It's a very important point, but I understand the coinage of his reaction. I was just wondering. Look, there are elements in certain countries who may be opposed to the larger vision and goal of integration, which is the ultimate. But what is playing out in Ghana now against Nigerian traders? Is it xenophobia in disguise? Because we see what happens in South Africa from time to time. In those cases, you have bandits of roaming gangs, maiming and killing Nigerians or destroying their businesses. Now, is this an elegant way of saying, look, you guys, Nigerians, get out of our environment?
Or that, exactly, get out of the environment. And historically speaking, I recall in 1954, Ghanaians deported Nigerians. And again in 1969, the same thing happened. And this question you asked now is apt. Is it a xenophobia in disguise? And I want to ask a Chukwuemeka Nigeria who lives in Ghana. It appears that the action of Ghanaians, is a response to perceived economic dominance. Do you have a feeling of the economic dominance by Nigerians over Ghanaians? Because it's not just in Ghana, elsewhere across the globe where Nigerians are doing good business. We are very good business, men and women, and people get jealous of, one way or another, and our people know how to display wealth, That is very true. So is there this feeling of a perceived economic dominance among Ghanaians that's leading to what's happening in Ghana? It has persisted, and you also said that there is the Ghanaian Union of Traders that are doing this. So does it mean that the central or even the regional government in Ghana do not know about what is going on, and why is it unabated?
Let me start by saying that every action taken by the Ghanaian Union of Traders actually is being known by the government, but they can decide to put a blind eye on it because they always have meetings together with the Minister of Trade. And as we said now, the interministerial committee are made up of Minister of Trade, Immigration, Police, including GRA, that's Ghana Revenue Authority, and all the institutions that have to do with business. However, just like you asked, it's sheer jealousy because Nigerians actually not put trade on their own business. In fact, there's one time they closed a particular sector because of the national president. I have to go there myself. And in a market where there is more than 2,000 to 3,000 shops, the Nigerian shops there were less than 50. In fact, it was 30 something. And I was surprised, and I said, why is this thing happening? It's like they have a kind of decision in the room, and they come out to implement it. Because like where I am, where was affected on 10th of August, we're less than 100 of a place that can have over 4,000 shops, if I may say. So I don't see that to be a issue here, because even though we assume that Nigerians are more when it comes to population in Africa, West Africa, most of our people are not really because Ghana have a very small market. Anybody who is doing well in Lagos or anywhere in Nigeria would not like to move to Accra, because you can imagine market target is less than maybe 20 million. So that's not the case at all. For me, I think it's just some individuals who have determined on themselves that they should get rid or get back to Nigerians out of bitterness of heart. And sometimes it becomes a political something, and when you go to the house, you see some people talking for Nigeria and others against Nigeria. So it's always there. Even if it's 2 or 3 people that are against, the impact is now becoming much, because it's a political year and the government's hands is tied. And this is a promise they made that they are going to remove all the foreigners in their market. Unfortunately, I don't know whether the government is aware that the foreigners in the market of Ghanaians is Nigerians or not. So these have been this back and forth for these years. So we are not much, I know we are good when it comes to business, but I think one of the things that grow business is competition. And if we compete among ourselves, I think they will still do well. Because it's most of the people who sells our product, I don't think they really know that, but it's a problem of some individual.
Mr. Naji, I still with you. Yes, this problem has been recurring over the years, as outlined by Dr. Ken Okoha here with us in the Abuja studios. And as you have indicated, it's an election year, so there is heightened desire, maybe by politicians, to use that as a political point. But I was just wondering, do members of your union, and indeed the other nationals, utilize back channels to try to communicate with, say, the Ghana Union of Traders, the political power brokers, and some of the hotheads, just to find out? I mean, as part of PR, it's not everything that you discuss in the open, but are there back channel communication lines? Find out, for instance, have you tried to do that? How are we irritating you Ghanaians? If we are, how are we irritating you? What would you like to see us do? Or you want to see us jump into the Atlantic Ocean?
Yes, there have been kind of, such arrangement. Nigerian Union of Traders here, we try to put this in a very smooth way to make sure we stay. And immediately we took over the power. What I do is to make sure that we create a situation where individuals in a particular area should have their own executive, so that they can easily tackle their major problems. And that was a very good idea. And some areas, you can see that, like in Greater Accra, we have about what we call 10 sectors. Those sectors are people that are trading in a particular area. And I made them to make sure you communicate, being a community citizen, making sure that you don't have unnecessary tension between you and the host. And it's working in some areas. But there's areas that they did not really give, a fair land, and there's no opportunity to communicate. But if you come to the federal constituency, maybe to the government and the national of Guta, we have written to them, they never reply. But I think the people on that national executive, a different group of people. As we speak, there's a lot of executives that I normally call when it's issues, but whatever we discuss, they never implement it. So it's very difficult. I know some other Nigerians is also going behind the door trying to resolve issues, but most time every discussion made, they never implement it. At the end of the day, when they get a little support from the government, they will just come and hit their chest and tell you, this is our law, this is our law, you people should, comply. And their law is more complicated, is they pick it one after another. If you remember, there's a time they said we should move out of a place they call market, and the market, according to their own interpretation, is where 2 or 3 Ghanaians apply their trade. We raise objection on that, then move it to employment of 20 skilled Ghanaians. And finally now we raise this one because that is the major problem we have. They will come to shop, and when you don't have the GIPC, they will give you 14 days to go and regularize, and they paste it on your door and tell you don't touch it because we'll be coming back. They use it to identify your shops. So that's the whole issue. Of course, you know Nigerians and they know the businessmen in Nigeria, how they always want to solve their problem without wasting time. We have done everything in our own midst to see if we can solve it. We, even at a point, ask them, come up with any specific problem in each particular area so that we can handle it. I remember there's a time we go to a place called Magazine, they were complaining many shops are being opened by Nigeria, and we started regulating it and said, listen, if you have more than one shop, close the other and maintain one. Recently, we are trying to stop even Nigerians opening shops without document in our own area to see whether there can be a point in which Ghanaians will hear and feel, okay, these people are also trying to help us. But all those things are just public display. Doesn't materialize to anything.
Okay, there is what we call an organized plan against Nigerians in Ghana. Because what you just asked him is whether they use back channels, which is very effective in most countries. Use back channel, talk to the powers that be, and table major issues that could help resolve the ones that the ones that are playing out. But having an exhausted sort, according to what he explained, some of them they don't even give you the channel in the first place for you to utilize. So it means that this is something that have worked out on their own as a nation to deal with Nigeria with the way they're dealing with Nigeria at the moment. And Dr. Ukoha, Nigeria has threatened to go to the ECOWAS Court. To what extent can the ECOWAS Court intervene in this? Are you looking at it as a good move on the Nigerian side? Because as it were, I'm not sure Nigeria has an answer to the yawning questions in Ghana as far as our traders there are concerned. Or do we have to now rely on, or rather ask our traders to leave Ghana, or what do we do?
I think that if you ask me, Nigeria has played cool for long. And I can tell you that heaven and earth can bear witness at this point that Nigeria has really tried as a people, as a government. And of course, when Kingsley asked the question on whether this is a covert way by, government using traders, Ghanaian traders, to act, of course this is very clear. I'm sure during the background report by Adu, you discover that the people there were Ghanaian policemen, Ghanaian immigration, all in uniform. And the person that spoke after the Nigerian spoke, the person that was reacting, was the PRO of the Ministry of Trade and Industry. Very clear. So that tells you tacitly that this is government working. Let me ask you, apart from the $1 million required by the GIPC Act, you also have $120 for ID card. $120. You know how much it is? 2.4 million naira.
Is it $120,000?
Check your math again.
Is it $120?
$120 for ID card. You have your business 0.5% of the $1 million. It gives you that amount, which is 120. Now, you see what happens. You also have non-Ghanaian ID card, which is given to these people. And ECOWAS see all of these things as discriminatory practices. Let's move a bit from trade. There are some Nigerian children who are schooling in Ghana. Go and ask their parents. they pay in dollars. Ghanaians pay in naira. Even when Nigerians who have been living in Ghana, who are married in Ghana, they are subjected to pay also in dollars.
How can
so these are discriminating practices.
How can ECOWAS court intervene? Nigeria wants to go to ECOWAS court.
Now, I'm coming to this. You see, the point is this. We need to explore all means. And of course, the treaty permits a country that is vexed to go and seek interpretation. And I think Nigeria ought to have done this for a long time. Beyond this, there are other steps that we ought to have. After all, when we discovered of late that Benin Republic and Niger Republic were being used as conduit pipe to destroy Nigeria's economy, what did Nigeria do? Nigeria stood up to help ECOWAS laws to stand. Nigeria stood up to close the borders. And in closing the borders, all these countries now stood up. ECOWAS now rose up also to defend their own law. I think Nigeria as a country, our own country, you have slept so much. Wake up.
Well, Dr. Kenahua, thanks. Dr. Bassey, you earlier enumerated a number of ECOWAS institutions that Nigeria could take advantage of, which is just the point that Dr. Ken Ukoha is making.
Yeah.
But he makes it very strongly by saying that we appear to be sitting on our rights.
Thank you very much. I think, Kingsley, time has come now with this particular issue. On other issues, it has been resolved using those channels. This particular issue, this is recurring for the second or third time within the past 1 year. And like I said, the government has taken it upon itself to act on it. I don't want to preempt what will happen, but definitely Nigeria is aware of its own right and is going to enforce it. Like you rightly pointed out, when somebody went and destroyed our building in the mission, Nigeria took it up, and of course it was resolved.
It's being resolved.
It's being resolved. Yes, it's being resolved.
The structure has not been rebuilt. Has it been rebuilt?
It's being resolved. Yeah, it's being resolved. Let me also put it this way here, and like you also made reference to it in your introduction, Kingsley. Nigeria and Ghana have come a very long way, and if there are issues like this, I am optimistic that it will be resolved. I pray that it is resolved yesterday than today, but definitely Nigeria has come a very long way. Like he rightly pointed out, there are millions of Ghanaians of Nigerian descent. There are also millions of Nigerians, Ghanaians of Nigerian descent. And if you look at it in the ECOWAS sub-region, Nigeria and Ghana make up close to 75% of the GDP of the ECOWAS region. And definitely, I'm sure, this issue, it has come, it's time for resolving it.
And when you talk about resolving, yes, how will it be resolved? Because the Ghanaian government is not playing ball. So what do you expect the Nigerian government to do? Like
I said, we have the ECOWAS institutions here. There is the ECOWAS Commission. There is also the ECOWAS Parliament. And we have Nigerians.
I've asked the Ken Luko had this question about the ECOWAS court. Yeah. From what he said, what he told me, I'm not sure we can rely on ECOWAS court in this matter now, the way it is.
Well, we can.
We can.
But the point is, I think, Kirian, and gentlemen, I think, Kirian, what is being said here is, look, the ECOWAS court does not act suo motu to take on a case. In other words, the ECOWAS court will not be foraging for issues. There is a conflict between country A and country B. Say, all right, so let's now,
what then is the role of ECOWAS court?
No,
if you cannot handle
you have to,
Nigeria,
you have to file your case.
Right. Exactly.
That's
so
right.
That's why I said that.
But in this case, we appear, I wouldn't know whether any petition has been filed by the Nigerian government. But that's why I said we are sleeping on our rights.
That's the point.
If we are seeking interpretation, or perhaps it has been evaluated and said, look, okay, we might not win. But the key point that Dr. Okoha raised earlier has to do with generally the inferiority of municipal law to international law by way of treaties, protocols, and all that. But why are the Ghanaian authorities apparently so unmindful of this? And they're proceeding with whatever they are doing, notwithstanding the potential consequences. Who would like to take that?
No, I think it's very clear. First, because we have not acted. I am sure you remember that immediately Nigeria's house was pulled down and we threatened to recall our High Commissioner. That was the only time you saw a very clear statement coming out from Ghana. Let's get this thing right. I also want to look at what happened in South Africa. With all the attacks, with everything that happened, investments of Nigerians that were drowned. It was only when Nigeria woke up and made a strong pronouncement that that kind of marriage between South Africans and the South African government now started dislodging, and the South African government now acted. Number 3, you also saw what I told you about the Niger Republic and Benin Republic being used as conduit. It is only at that time that you can see nations stand up. And in fact, other countries within now stand. My point is that Nigeria has not acted at all. Not even to talk about acting enough. We have this big brother mentality for the Christmas. Let me tell you what happened in 2012. We were busy acting on the issue that protested against this amendment of GIPC Act 478, amended by Act 865. And you know what happened? Ghanaians were having election. As we were protesting, Nigerian government was busy giving Ghana money, assisting them for election. I mean, how do you? And then I went to represent the non-state actors in the ACP Secretariat, as I was then the vice chairman of the All African Pacific countries. I went there in Brussels only to meet my colleague who is a Ghanaian. And he was just ridiculing me. I said, look at you guys, you are making noise. But your country is also giving us money. I looked at, I was so delayed.
Election support.
Election support. You see, how are you supporting somebody who is killing your economy?
Nigeria has always played that big brother role.
That's nonsensical for me.
Without a concomitant treatment from some countries. So
we helped Liberia. I'm sorry to say this. We helped Liberia. We helped Sierra Leone. We helped Mali. What have we benefited out of all of this? And we cannot tie it to any economic.
Exactly.
That's madness. Stand up.
Western nations that engage in such always attack some economic.
And moreover, there is reciprocity. There are Ghanaians who are living here. I was making a presentation just on Friday at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I was asking a question. The immigration officer there shouted. I said that they collect $5,000 for business registration and $120 and another $300 for work permit. And here in Nigeria, our immigration collects zero, nothing for work permit. How do you reconcile all of this?
Dr. Koha, let's thank you here. That's a big revelation, and the authorities are listening. I mean, if they are paying attention this morning on this program, it's very pertinent to raise such issues, because the issue of playing big brother role, it should be over by now in Africa. Yes, we have come of age, and we should be a nation, not to sit on our rights, and make sure that we protect Nigeria as a big nation, a nation that will not be sleeping and allowing other African nations to be, using us and insulting our people, molesting our people, and making things difficult for us in their countries. Well, when we come back from this break, we're going to discuss.
I know that you're going to sign off now. I mean, from what has been said in terms of playing the big brother role, our foreign policy, when it was enunciated, the basic ground rule was that Africa is the cornerstone of our foreign policy. But it appears that a number of African countries are using that stone to destroy our people and damage our businesses.
Yeah, the cornerstone, right?
Using it
exactly, and I think we should also look at that foreign policy. Like that foreign policy has to also be revisited if we are going to be treated the way African countries are treating Nigerian. I'm going to ask you a question, but that's after the break. Chukwuemeka, that has to do with the role of migrant associations in adjustment, integration, and the development of migrants in Ghana. I know we have a number of associations in Ghana apart from your Traders Association, but that will be after the break. All right, you're welcome back. We'll go back to Ghana, where we have Chukwuemeka Nnaji, the president of Nigerian Traders in Ghana. I'm going to ask this question. The role of migrant associations in adjustment, integration, and of course development of migrants in Ghana. I understand we have a Nigerian community of our brothers, and of course the Edo State Association in Ghana. There could be other associations. Kingsley earlier asked you whether you have the provision of a back channel through which you communicate to people in government. We had your answers. In this connection, what should be the role of these associations? Could they be effective, in trying to present your case in a manner that will make governments to listen and, of course, make life easier for you and your members?
Thank you, sir. The trade union is one of the unions that are actually stable because, I can say, because of economic empowerment. And other association, this is the first time we have come together more than ever because they really now sees that the sins or the crime they are putting on us, we did not really committed. So the all Nigeria community, the press conference we had at the Nigerian embassy was actually championed by all Nigeria community. And they now invited us to join them to make that release. And that is the beauty of the whole thing. All the association is trying to, protect their citizens, if I use the word, like almost all the states that have numbers here, they have their own association, but that is mainly reduced to that particular state, or even we have, I think, four of the geographical association. That is, we have the Arewa, we have the Oduduwa, that is Yoruba, we have the South, and we have the Igbo community as well. All those things are there trying to sensitize Nigerians to behave well and protect their interests. Living in Ghana is a very difficult one, even though everybody must thought that is the simplest place to live. Because even this thing happening to traders now is just a little of what is happening to Nigeria in general. I don't know whether you are privy to, about last month, a Nigerian was just killed by police. What was his offense? That he was holding a machete, whining. I think somebody provoked him, and he was like, threatened, and they went to the police station to report that case with machete. And the police, the only way they can see him to shoot him is in his chest, head, and then later shot in the leg. And all those things is what we are going through here. Look, imagine pulling down the residence, a house in the residence of High Commissioner will tell you how, insignificant or how small Ghanaians have taken us up. I'm not saying this for any reason, but I'm saying it for Nigerians to know what we are passing through here. And all these associations around keep on calling their people to behave well, to be at a very, highly, moral. Because any mistake from you, you can end up in a jail. In fact, some of the jail sentence, if even is armed robbery or any small offense, can take you up to 10 to 30 years and all this. So for a very long time now, crime involving Nigerians have been reduced, because even the crimes that were not involved, they will still ascribe it to us. And I remember there's a time a policeman was shot. One of the media house announcing that Nigerians have killed a policeman. Meanwhile, it was a Ghanaian who did that. A lot of people had been arrested for crime they did not commit. And last year, we are following issues of some people, a child is missing, they will come to your house as a Nigerian to ask you whether you see a child you don't know. So this is a situation here. So those associations are trying to, protect their own, locals. I can say locals because when it happened to an Igbo man, the Hausa will say, oh, these Igbos are troublesome. Then when it happened to Hausa man, the Igbos may say that these Hausas are troublesome. So now everybody now mind his own people, men particularly. But when it comes to business, business is cut across, even though you may say that Igbos are more just because that they are identified, because Hausas, they have a very quick, kind of how to integrate with the community based on their religion and the claim citizen. So all Nigerians at this point were supporting us. And I think that is what I'm also seeing from our Nigerian, that we are not involved in the crime that they have put on us. We try our possible best to live in this country and obey their law. And as a union, that is my first point of call, to make sure that every Nigerian, especially in the trade sector, will be law-abiding citizens. And tell you the truth, if you know anybody living in Ghana, if he has more than 5 years, you see that his character is almost Ghanaian only. We have to always like to kill on the back of every other person in front of us. So those unions are helping. And that is why you can see that we're even, the crime that are putting on us have reduced dramatically for some time now.
Mr. Najib, thank you very much. We know, of course, that Nigeria and Ghana have very healthy rivalry when it comes to sports, more particularly soccer. I mean, many years ago, we had Nigeria-Ghana games, then it became West African games, and then you also had West African soccer tournament. I don't think Nigeria and Ghana have played recently, particularly at the senior level. Mr. Naja, I wouldn't know how long you've been in Ghana for, but is it possible that a competitive soccer match in which Nigeria thrashes Ghana might mollify them and then allow you guys to do your business without being harassed in the meantime?
That is a welcome idea. But I don't know, because it's two-way. Anytime we're playing against Ghana, our stomach is running because anything can happen as well. Ghanaians have, I don't know whether it's their own belief that whenever they're playing against Nigeria, they will commit red card, and immediately they commit red card, Nigeria will start pitying them, and we will lose the match or draw it. So I'm not sure it will be a healthy thing now. Please let us use diplomacy on this point, policies that can put them in check, because they are really mean on us now. Please.
I was just wondering, Mr. Najib, thanks. I've just been reminded in the studios by Dr. Bassi. In terms of our foods, Nigeria has a wide variety of food, unmatched anywhere on the African continent, even elsewhere in the world. Ghana has theirs, but in terms of jollof rice, do you guys cook? Can you cook jollof rice and invite them to taste the real Nigerian delicacy along with Isiewu and Nkwobi and all of that?
I don't know, when it comes to jollof rice, they believe theirs are more sweeter than Nigeria own, because they use perfume rice and we use parboiled rice. So I think what can do the magic will be a egusi soup and eba, which they really like much, and we have been giving it to them, to calm them down. However, as it goes, when they are hungry, they finish the food, and when they are full up, they also retaliate in a different way. So I think all those things are options, and we are using it, but for now it's not working.
Interesting that this will have to come from that perspective, because I'm sure if people over there have tried all other options and they are not paying, including the back channel, which has not worked out. But we believe that as time goes on, Nigerian government will come up with something that will ensure that you people in Ghana will have a respite. I mean, this will not continue forever, although we have noted that it started since 2007, and it's a pretty long way. After pausing for a while, the next thing you hear is that they're coming back. Right, so, well, God will protect you people there. Just continue as you are doing, obey the laws and regulations. The one you can afford to obey, let the Nigerian government know, especially the issue of $1 million. That's a huge sum for a lock-up shop, to pay, to stay in business. I'm not sure that is realistic. Thank you. We're back here. Dr. Koha, you were itching to say something, My question would have been, what should the Nigerian government be doing now? What should be the direction? What should be the perspective we should take this to? Because this is becoming too much for Nigeria as a nation, coming from Ghana since 2007. There should be an action, an efficacious action that should bring this anomaly to a stop.
Thank you very much. Let me comment the perspectives from where you guys came from, the funny part to the lighter mood part. The okra, the gusi and the jollof rice. So, and I'm so happy.
I will have Nigerian grown rice
Exactly. And I'm also very happy that my man Chukwubega has also informed you that none of these things have worked. They have been doing all of these things, including football, but it never worked. So I think it takes us back to the drawing table, and that drawing table should be, one, what is the role of ECOWAS in all of these things? This is a supranational entity holding this supranational law. Will you always be sitting at the back? Wouldn't you call the entities together? When it happened, when Nigeria took up and closed the borders, ECOWAS stood up. I'm a member of the ECOWAS, heads of states task force on trade, and they asked us to mediate, and we went to the three countries, and then we brought them together. And in fact, other countries that were not directly involved also came up to say, look, our goods are also coming, and we're stopped at the border. In fact, Ghana was one of the countries that complained bitterly. Now, as it is, the Equality Parliament must stand up, even though it's like an advisory panel. It has to rise up. The issue of going to ECOWAS Court of Justice as our regional court must come. Unfortunately, I must say this before we even get there, we also have an ECOWAS Court of Justice that is lamed in the sense that the law that established the ECOWAS Court of Justice, delegated it to only strictly human rights matters. So sometimes if you go there, they will tell you that this is not human rights, this is an economic matter. And that's why we're also calling for the expansion of the jurisdiction of the ECOWAS Court.
So
number three.
Invariably, the ECOWAS Court does not have jurisdiction to handle issues.
I am not saying that yet.
No, it's not saying that.
Because he says it's blamed, and they want to expand the jurisdiction.
That's fine. But there are ways you can frame your petition.
Exactly, as an interpretation.
Exactly. Because if you say human right, the right of assembly, the right to live freely, and not
right of doing business.
Yes, because if you are
economic, social, and cultural
precisely
come through that.
Those are human rights.
So these are laws. Lawyers can do that. We can always go that. But the third aspect of what Nigeria could do is to stand up and speak out. One, we can even threaten withdrawal from ECOWAS. That ECOWAS laws are not working. We threaten withdrawal. And by the time we threaten withdrawal, then ECOWAS will be forced to without work. We can't. Carrot and the stick in diplomacy. There's always reciprocity also. There are many Ghanaians who are living here, doing their business. Nothing is disturbing them. No. That we all are into. Do you know Nigeria supported Ghana to assume the Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which of Nigeria. You see an irony. Therefore, we can also ask the AFCTA to do what? That we are withdrawing our membership so that they can also act and see what has happened. Wow. African Union is there.
Dr. Koha, thank you so much. I think the perspectives we're bringing in this issue is apt. The perspectives are actually key to what can be done to resolve this issue. It's been lingering for a very long time. Thank you very much indeed. We have 2 seconds.
That's right. We have them. Innocent Yawa James. Ghana claimed to have reviewed their absolute law, which brought about this altercation with foreign traders. They also mentioned Nigeria closing its borders as a reason to defend its new policy. Rightful place seems lost in West Africa, let alone the African continent. Nigeria should wake up.
Chris Simeon, federal government should make policy that would promote multilateral trading. If this is done, foreigners and Nigerian traders in diaspora will return home to invest. Entrepreneurship would thrive too.
Festus Akimboewa, the altercation is unfortunate. I believe it was started by Ghana to curb Nigeria's rise as the economic power in Africa. Negotiations may be difficult, but it's the way to go so that Nigerians can continue to trade in Ghana. Ghanaians are not happy that Nigeria closed its land borders. That's why they are closing down Nigerian businesses. Tit for tat will not benefit the 2 countries.
Tatos Bondiok, government really have to up its game in protecting Nigerians and their investments in foreign countries, especially in Africa. We protect other citizens and their assets religiously, but some of these nations turn and stab our brothers and their businesses in their countries.
Akeju Olagbaju says Nigeria-Ghana bilateral relations are expected to be smooth because of our cultural and colonial linkages. The 2 countries are formidable economic blocs within the ECOWAS region, and an attempt to disrupt the relationship is a direct economic assault on West Africa.
From Delejak Solomon, it seems the demonstrations and actions against Nigerian store owners are completely linked to the closure of the Nigerian border to West African countries, specifically Ghana. Nevertheless, one would have expected Ghanaian authority to use diplomacy to resolve issues rather than asking Nigerian investors to pay $1 million before they can reopen shops in Accra, which is ridiculously insensitive to the plight of, or insensitive to the plight of shop owners. Well, you can't rightly say that it's because of the closure of the border. In 2007, we didn't close border. In 2007, when it started, so we didn't close border then.
And the border closure was just a month ago. It was just a year ago. A year ago. So, and for good cause. For good cause, you had not just economic sabotage, but you also had weapon smuggling across the borders and the insecurity that
contraband goods and all of that, small firearms.
Absolutely, let's go. Laura Fassi says Nigeria and Ghana share a common history. So it's unfortunate the recent display of xenophobia exhibited against peaceful Nigerian traders in that country.
Tijani, Dr. B. Tijani says it's about competitive advantage. Or it should be comparative advantages. I don't know. There are why when they excel above the Ghanaian, they want to apply distinctive strategies to send traps back to Nigeria, traders back to Nigeria. This sentence is not well put together, but I think he's saying that the Ghanaians could not withstand the competition that Nigerians are bringing to them. That is the major reason why they want to send their traders back to Nigeria. That's what I understand about this.
Mike Ayakwa tweets, says it's most unfortunate that the current circumstance is emanating from a brotherly nation whom Nigeria had hitherto helped in many ways.
Well, we had from P.A. Ebanji, I'm not sure we have time to read all of that. Oladimeji Morufu, Akindada yes, these other ones we don't have time to go through them. We also have others who have also sent their tweets here, including again Nuhu Mohammed. We thank all of you for being part of the program. We have read out a good number of them. We ask you to also come again tomorrow and send your tweets and make your contribution to conversations on Good Morning Nigeria.
All right. Let's just get very quickly. We are pressed for time, Dr. Basi. The issues and the solutions proposed by Dr. Okoha would often lead us to say, look, is the ECOWAS integration challenged? And if so, what do the member countries need to do? Very quickly.
Thank you. The member countries need to come together and review what has happened over the past 40 years, and where there are challenges like this, rejig the integration effort. Thank you.
And we didn't even ask you the role of the Diaspora Commission in this respect. What should be your role in terms of helping out Nigerians who are in Ghana or in other country where you have this xenophobia practice?
Thank you very much. We've been engaging with all the unions, including our good friend here, and we've articulated what is to be done and forwarded it for actions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Sulei Yakubu Bassett, Secretary of Nigerians in Diaspora Commission. I would like to appreciate you for being part of our discussions this morning. From Ghana, we're joined via Skype by Chukwuemeka Naji. He's President, Nigerian Traders in Ghana. We'd like to thank you for being with us and wish you the very best while you are trying to sort out your issues with the Ghanaian authorities, hoping for sufficient backup from the home government.
Thank you very much.
All right, and here with us in the studios, our deep appreciation to Dr. Ken Okoha, President, National Association of Nigerian Traders. Thank you very much, Ken.
Thank you so much.
All right, let's go over now to our sports desk.
Bayern Munich are the 2019-2020 UEFA Champions League winners after edging past Paris Saint-Germain 1-0 in the final in Lisbon on Sunday. They are now the second European club to secure a second treble after Barcelona achieved it in 2015. Bayern first landed the treble in 2013. Former PSG player Kingsley Coman was the hero for Bayern Munich